You are now joining Children of the Watch.
That's right. It's the number one podcast in the galaxy for all things Star Wars television. I'm your host, Alex Maxwell, and joining me, as always, is...
Mac Lacey. Alex, this is our last episode that's going to be going out before the Book of Boba Fett is upon us. So it is our final predictions episode. We're going to be hearing some listener voicemails. We're going to be giving our last thoughts, before the show drops. I'm excited. The anticipation is in the air.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. By the time everybody's listening to this, we are 1 week away from the Book of Boba Fett, and Christmas is in between, and I think I'm more excited for the Book of Boba Fett. I cannot wait, especially after that amazing Hollywood Reporter article that came out that Robert Rodriguez talked a lot about the show, which we'll talk about on here.
Yeah.
I can't wait. But before we begin, quick business stuff. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at COT Watch, where we'd love to engage with you over there and just talk with you guys, especially as we're in season. We'll be more active on those platforms. And then, of course, we've got our Patreon where you can get bonus voicemail hotline episodes when we're in season, and also just bonus access to our weekly roundup, the Discord, all sorts of things. So you can go to patreon.com/The Mandalorian Watch. And that kind of reminds me that there might be some people joining us that have been away for a year, and you did not realize that we switched our name from The Mandalorian Watch to Children of the Watch to better cover all the upcoming live-action Star Wars television shows. So we are the same exact podcast. In fact, you can still find all those episodes in this exact same feed. Just scroll down, and it's all still there. We just thought we didn't want to confuse anybody that, okay, are they just The Mandalorian? What's going on? So we thought this name would really work best for all the shows because, it's still kind of in our Mandalorian roots, but we're Children of the Watch. We're watching Star Wars television with you guys, and we're breaking it down every single week with a scene-by-scene breakdown and then our voicemail hotline episodes. So that's all still the same. It's just the name slightly changed.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll be hearing some voicemails from listeners here in a little bit. But if you want to call us and leave a voicemail with your thoughts, predictions, anything like that, you can call 205-259-6675. And I think that's going to do it for the business. Let's go ahead and get into some voicemails.
Let's do it.
Hey, Alex and Max, this is Jeff Joden on the Discord. I just first of all wanted to say thank you for all the upcoming anticipation of the Book of Boba Fett with your videos. I appreciate it, and it's been fun getting into that mindset. And I look forward to starting the season with you all since I joined last year right after season 2 started of Mandalorian. I have a pretty insane theory that I wanted to share, and I don't think it affects anything major, but I think it could be really cool. I am wondering, so we see Boba Fett in the trailer, where we see him in Mandalorian wearing Tusken robes. We saw Tusken Raiders in the Book of Boba Fett trailer, so it looks like they have something to do with saving him. And he also has their gaffy stick. My insane theory is, what if Boba was one of the Tuskens we see in Chapter 9, The Marshal? If he's one of the Tuskens that we saw helping Mos Pelgo. So I'm just curious if y'all think that might be possible. And he could have been there kind of watching the whole time. And then even more insane is, what if Boba was one of the Tuskens that Din interacted with in Chapter 5? What if he was one of the ones that was insulted or that was about to kill Toro Calihan? So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. I look forward to the coverage and keep it up.
Alex is triggered by your mention of Toro dying.
Wow. I mean, it's definitely possible, right?
Yeah, anything's possible. So we don't know what Tusken Raiders look like under the garb, right?
Right.
I assume they're a different species.
Yes, I assume that too.
It looks like they've got some biomechanical apparatus going on. That it's. I feel like they're not human. They could be under all that. Who knows?
Yeah, in the Legends comics, it was implied in the Dawn of the Jedi comics that take place like 20,000 years before the movies. You can kind of see the Rakata Empire taking over, which was once an oasis planet of Tatooine, and they look like they're enslaving the Tusken people.
Yeah.
And they kind of look like shriveled prunes a little bit. That's how, even though that's Legends material, I still kind of consider that like, I don't think that you're human, but it's still possible, because like, I'm sure a human could wear that stuff and be completely fine.
Yeah. I guess it would depend on like the circumstances under which Boba and the Tuskens interacted. I don't necessarily think he's going to be under there or anything, but I do think we're going to get a lot of story with Boba talking with the Tusken Raiders and living with them like nursing him back to health or something like that. So I am very excited to get some Boba Tusken interaction.
Could you imagine if they went the direction of like after he gets out of the Sarlacc pit, he's lost his memory and he doesn't remember who he is anymore, and the Tuskens raise him to be like a new Tusken leader, and he's a Tusken, but then he starts to get his memory back, and then there's this back and forth battle of am I a Tusken or am I Boba Fett? And the Tuskens, like one of the Tuskens is like really like kind of against him becoming Boba Fett again, and then there's like another Tusken that is like, no, you go be you and who you're meant to be, but carry the lessons that we taught you forward. Can you imagine? Like that's like kind of like a Hallmark movie, like a Christmas Hallmark movie, but in the Book of Boba Fett. How about that? Huh?
Yeah.
You like that?
So here's a really interesting thought. What if instead of him being a Tusken, what if instead of like them Boba's a clone, right?
Yes.
There's tons of other clones that are genetically identical to him.
Okay.
What if like I was thinking, and maybe this might be final prediction territory, I don't know. What if the Boba we see walking around is a different body than we see him having in Empire Strikes Back?
Little altered carbon action going on, like
that's just like that would be how he actually made it out of the Sarlacc pit. Is like they were able to like maybe his body just came up and they transferred his consciousness to a different clone body.
So kind of like what happened to Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker, except he did it through secrets only the Sith knew. If you remember, somehow Palpatine has returned. Yeah, I don't know. There's something at the end of the day. Jeff, I think that's a good theory.
Yeah.
There's definitely something going on with the Tuskens. How far that goes, I don't know. I imagine. I don't know, because like you do have to account for that like 5-year gap between Return of the Jedi and then where we see him in The Mandalorian. What was he doing that whole time? Why did he allow Cobb Vanth to still have his armor unless he was taken out of commission? Maybe he was captured by somebody and he was being held prisoner for a long time. That's kind of what I imagine, but like I don't know what he was doing, and I imagine we will get that answer in the show.
Yeah. I think he was healing up. I think he got back into action as soon as he was able.
I wonder if maybe the Tuskens have like a healing type of method that's really ancient that, it's not Bacta. We do see him in Bacta in some of the TV spots and stuff, but what if they were healing him and it just took a long time to heal him?
Yeah, definitely could be. And that would be why he's like, he shows up with all the scars and everything, and then it seems like pretty soon afterward he gets like the Bacta works a little faster, maybe. Who knows?
I mean, Jeff's right though. I mean, there is Din is definitely, and we talked about this when that episode premiered in season 1. Din has interacted with Tusken Raiders before.
Yes. He knows their language. He's the only other
Yeah.
like humanoid character we've seen being able to like converse with them, right?
Right. That's a story I would still love to get.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Also, it reminds me when you were talking about like Boba kind of being like in disguise but being present for all these moments in another story, it reminded me a theory about Maz Kanata that people used to have, which was that she was actually a Jawa. And when she was saying like these eyes have seen so much, I can't remember the exact quote, but she was actually referring to like, I was there when Anakin won that pod race. I was there when Luke got those droids, like, so she's kind of been around just in disguise, watching and witnessing. I like the idea of kind of just like a witness character, a character that's just like been around for everything but didn't really do anything.
That's C-3PO. Yeah.
I guess that's true. I guess they've already got that.
He's been around but didn't really contribute to helping at all. R2 has been around and he's seen it all, and he helped pretty much save the day every single time.
Oh, every single time. No one would make it in Star Wars more than one movie if it weren't for R2.
That's the only, let me take that back. That is not the only thing. That is one of the major things that I would have changed about R2 in the sequel trilogy is like more R2 saving the day. Like, let's not have him in the back burner there. R2's got to save the day, and I would love for both him and C-3PO to like sacrifice themselves. I thought that would have been a good idea of like that ends the saga because like they're not telling it anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That would be sad.
Good thoughts. Good thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. I mean, what a voicemail. That's what voicemails do. You're getting a good taste of what a voicemail hotline is. So these are a lot of fun. And then you get a bonus one of these too when you sign up for the Patreon.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I think the conversations tend to be better here because it's more conversational and less like we're running down the list of everything that happened in the episode,
Right.
So more free discussion happens on these formatted episodes. So
yeah.
R.I.P.
R2.
Well, thanks so much, Jeff. We ready to do the next voicemail?
Let's do voicemail 2.
Alex Mack, this is Clay. Long time follower. I don't know. I'm laughing. It's been quite a bit. Been an adventure listening to the podcast with you guys. Loved every second of it. Just finished listening to your breakdown of the TV spots for Book of Boba Fett, and man, those are some awesome insights. One thing that I was dreaming for is, what if we have not only a flashback about Boba getting out of the Sarlacc pit, but also a flashback of him being hired on for the first time by Darth Vader. Who knows? I mean, I guess thinking of Boba's personality before he went into the Sarlacc, it could have been a short, brief conversation with Darth Vader, but I think it'd be awesome if they could flesh that out and like have him banter with Darth Vader back and forth. The other thing I'm wondering too is, what are the real stakes? Like you said, Alex, maybe it is something related to other Star Wars stories. I don't know if we're talking in linear perspective, would the stakes be, Finnick is about to die, maybe Boba's about to die, but I'm curious about what the end game is going to look like for this season. Is it going to be continuing into a season 2, or what exactly would that look like? And then the last comment I had was, I'm curious to see how the Sarlacc flashback is going to be. Like, what did the set look like? Was it going to be just totally Tamara Morrison in a 3D green screen background, or no, did they actually have a set? And I'm wondering if it's going to be close-up shots of him in this nasty thing, or almost like, in the belly of the beast. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Love hearing all about your takes and cannot wait. This is now Star Wars season. Pumped. All right, have a good one. We'll see you.
Nice. Thanks, Clay, for your voicemail. Let's actually start from 3 and go back to 1.
Yeah, so we got kind of 3 different points we'll address here.
So let's start with the Sarlacc.
The Sarlacc.
Yeah.
This is actually one of my final predictions. And
Okay.
it is what I think the first scene of the show will be.
I just get it out of the way.
All right, so well then,
Nice.
Don't penalize me for. Or do you want me to describe it now, or do you want me to wait until?
Well,
later in the
you
show?
can wait. I meant like the show. The show
Oh,
is
I
just
got you.
going to get it out of the way because I feel like that's what we're all kind of like wanting that answer of like, how did he get out of the Sarlacc? And they just boom start with that. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a specific context in which I think it happens.
Okay,
and
so
I mean
we'll wait on
there's
that.
like a 5% chance that this could be the case, but
Now, in terms of the set thing, I did want to make a comment. I think it's going to be really cool to revisit that scene from Return of the Jedi because Return of the Jedi is like my favorite Star Wars movie. To see maybe like the crashed sail barge and see like scattered, Jabba the Hutt stuff all
it's
over
like
the Dune Sea. That would be cool.
skeleton?
Maybe. I don't know.
Do they have bones? Are they vertebrates? I don't know.
I don't know, but it would be really,
They
really
have
cool.
arms like they're vertebrates, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I imagine it would have been very easy for them to go to that spot where they filmed it because that was in California. So that would be cool if they filmed it out there. That would be really, really cool. Like the same spot, and they just kind of recreate some of it, but it's destroyed. That would be incredible.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I mean, they return to Tunisia all the time, to the Skywalker homestead, or to the Owen homestead. But the Lars, that I got it. Third try.
Last name Lars, first name Owen. Yeah.
It's been a long week. But yeah, so they return to Tunisia all the time. I remembered Tunisia, but not,
Yeah.
yeah, because that set's just sitting there still.
Yeah.
So and I think they went back to Death Valley to do some stuff for Tatooine. So yeah, they're not above returning to locations, and I think that'd be a really great one to revisit.
Yeah. Okay. So the second one was, what's the end game for this show? Like, what are we working towards? What are the stakes for Boba and Fennec? I mean, they could be personal. He mentioned that on the voicemail, like, do they die or not? Right. But is there anything that kind of contributes to the overall Star Wars narrative what's at stake? What do you think, Mac?
I think this is going to be a pretty focused story, and it's going to mainly center on Boba and his personal goals, and then Fennec will be second, probably the second most character that's focused on. But I do think it's going to be more of kind of a street level show and less of like a galactic stakes. But I think the stakes will mainly come in with the dynamics in the underworld. So it's going to be like,
yeah, right, yeah.
I'm imagining like Sopranos in space, like they're angling for territory and people are out, and it's like Boba. I think by all accounts he's trying to build something in the underworld for some reason, and so I think that whatever ultimate reason why he's doing that is the stakes of the show.
One thing that I feel like if I could go back in time and add something to the history of Boba Fett 101, which you should absolutely go back and listen to if you haven't listened to yet, it's on the podcast and YouTube. We break down everything about Boba Fett from his birth all the way to the point we see him in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, we cover it all. If there's one thing that I feel like I could go back and add, it's us talking about the criminal syndicates, because I think that's going to be big. We focused solely on Boba Fett, and he had a syndicate called Crate's Claw. But the other ones we probably should have talked about. Those are Black Sun is a big one that comes to my mind. Prince Shizor in the Legends material was the leader of that, and he has been name dropped in canon now, so that's something to look out for. He's a Faline, which is like a lizard man who, through his pheromones, attracts Princess Leia.
Wow. It's weird.
Dash Rendar was in that story, though. Oh man, I love you, Dash Dash Rendar, please be in this.
Just 90s Han Solo.
With
just
shoulder
Han
pads.
Solo drawn by Rob Liefeld.
That's exactly who
Dash
he is.
Rendar is.
He does have the Outrider, which is kind of like the Millennium Falcon. Anyway,
it's the same ship, just
it's
like
basically
with the cockpit moved, and that's it.
Yeah. So you got Black Sun, you've got Crimson Dawn, which we did talk about on that episode. We don't know who's leading it at this point in the timeline. It could still be Kira from Solo, or it could be somebody new. We don't really know. You have the Pike Syndicate. The Pikes are in Solo, and they're in Clone Wars, and they're in the Bad Batch. I mean, they're like in everything.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
And then you had the Hutt Cartels, and each Hutt kind of there's like a Hutt Council and a Hutt family, like they kind of work together and in tandem, but they're also rivals with each other too.
Yeah, it's classic mafia stuff. They're very like classic mobsters in my opinion. And yeah, whereas like some of the other syndicates operate more like a business, or more like just a single gang or whatever. But the Hutts are really kind of the mafia parallel in the galaxy, I think.
And I would say those are your big four. There are more, but those are your big four kind of crime syndicates. When Maul and the Clone Wars took over, he kind of made a pact with all of them, and they were called the Shadow Collective. It was all of them plus the Mandalorian group Death Watch.
Yeah.
And that was a group that worked together. So at one point they were united. And that might be something that Boba Fett's trying to do again, but under his leadership and his rule is trying to unite all of the criminal syndicates from that seat of power on Tatooine. I don't think he's just gunning for what Jabba used to have. I think he's actually gunning to unite the whole criminal underworld. And I think the end stakes here are very similar to what in the Legends material in the original Thrawn novels, you had a guy named Talon Card who was like the leader of the Smugglers Alliance. And towards the end of those novels, and sorry, this is a 30-year-old novel. Towards the end of those novels, they end up coming to help the New Republic because they can operate better with the New Republic in power rather than the Empire in power, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're coming to help the Republic take down Thrawn and the Empire. I could see a very similar situation with Boba at the lead instead of a Talon Card. Here comes the criminal syndicates to help the New Republic instead of Talon Card. Yeah. But that's a name that also you might want to keep in the back of your mind because he could show up in canon very soon. And if he shows up in canon, that's going to lead to a lot of people like, oh my gosh, Mara Jade.
Yeah.
Because Mara Jade was his number 2, and that ended up being Luke Skywalker's wife in the Legends material. I know that's a lot to process for those who have never heard any of this. I know, but these are names that could show up.
Yeah. Cool. And then the first point, Clay, that Clay mentioned was kind of getting Boba's backstory with Vader. And we actually have the very first job that Boba did for Vader. It was through Jabba, so it wasn't like Vader hired him directly or anything, but it was actually Vader had hired Boba to track down Luke, but Vader didn't know it was Luke at the time.
He didn't know his name.
Right. It was just the star pilot or the starfighter pilot who blew up the Death Star. Like, go find that guy. And Boba actually brought the name Skywalker back to Vader, and that was the first time that anybody had kind of confirmed externally, like rather than through the Force or anything, that Vader had a son. So kind of a big deal, actually. I'm sure there's more jobs between that where Boba and Vader are working together before you get to where they have the whole the little bounty hunter posse in Empire. But so we have the very first one, and it's it's kind of cool. It came from the main Star Wars line on that's going right now with Marvel.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great call, Clay. Call again.
For sure. Thanks for listening. And I think we're ready for voicemail 3.
Let's do it.
Hi guys, my name's Will. I hate to use the cliche, but long-time listener, first-time caller. So it seems like we kind of have a good sort of understanding of what the show is going to be in the sense that it's Boba trying to stake his claim in the Star Wars underworld and whatnot. But one thing I can't really figure out is who do you guys think is going to be the overall or eventual sort of big bad type? Obviously, it's not necessary that there has to be one, but most shows seem to have at least some sort of main villain, and I just can't really figure out who that might be. I mean, it seems like it could be kind of big bad by committee, where it's Boba versus all the other claimants to Jabba's throne, or it could be that there's just an actual figure we're not thinking about. I know we saw that Ithorian in the trailer, and he could turn out to be Boba's main rival, or it could be someone we're not really thinking about, potentially like maybe Kira. I know you guys mentioned Crimson Dawn, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on who do you think is going to be Boba's main sort of antagonist that he's going up against. At least that will be revealed by the end of the show. Thanks so much. Really love the show, and I appreciate everything you guys do. So see ya.
Great questions. Fantastic questions. Thank you so much for being a long-time listener and everything like that. Who's your guess, Alex? At this point, who do you say the big bad of the show is?
This is tough because, I mean, it could be a number of people. There are so many underworld type figures. Prince Shizor, though, is a candidate that is on my hot board for potential big bad.
Yes, I that has crossed my mind before, especially now that we've got some comments from good old Robert Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, yeah.
And basically saying that anything could happen and that
Yeah.
this could change. You know, that I feel like Thrawn coming in to Rebels was a similar energy.
Yes.
That's kind of what he was describing. So Prince Shizor, kind of the main villain from Shadows of the Empire, Legends material, could be in there.
He was also like the big bad in the Bounty Hunter trilogy from the Legends material Boba Fett was the main character of that as well. So that's like someone who comes to my mind immediately because of that. So
Right.
It's possible Shizor, but then also, I mean, you mentioned Kira is possible.
Yeah. Will brought up Kira and Crimson Dawn. I could not speak right
Crimson Dawn.
now.
Crimson
yeah.
Dawn.
So I think Kira, especially because they brought her up in the War of the Bounty Hunters comic recently, which focuses on Boba and kind of, I feel like, was on the road to the Book of Boba Fett, so to speak,
Right.
if that makes sense. So I could see the Ithorian being like the Ithorian figure from the trailers and TV spots being posed as the big bad for a lot of the show.
Right.
And then at the end, you find out he's working for Kira or
Right.
Bridges or,
I agree. I think that's likely. I don't think the Ithorian is the big bad, but I hope that he's in the show for a long time because I love him.
Yeah.
But we will talk about how much footage we've actually seen from the show, by the way, because that is something that the director, Mr. Rodriguez, mentioned as well. So we'll come back to that. But who are some other candidates? Dengar. What if Dengar is the big bad? No, I'm just kidding. Dengar is kind of a joke in the bounty hunting world. He is awful.
He is not a reliable teammate or leader.
What if it's Jabba's son?
Stinky?
Yeah.
Does he have a name other than Stinky?
Yes, we've done this several times on the podcast before. I was hoping you had it. Why do I want to say Rhoda? Off the top of my head, I want to say Rhoda the Hutt.
Stinky is the only thing that sticks in my mind for the little baby Huttling.
Can you explain why are you calling him Stinky?
So Jabba's son comes to us from the Clone Wars movie, which
it is Rhoda. It is Rhoda.
Nailed it. Clone Wars is a series, great. Clone Wars the movie, highly, I would just say forgettable and like kind of inconsequential. Not very highly recommended from me. But in the movie, Ahsoka has to escort Jabba's, or find, or I can't even remember the exact plot, but is interacting with Jabba's son, and she calls him Stinky the whole time.
What if they're like, okay, we know the model that we created with the Mandalorian works so well. So let's have another 50-year-old baby, and Rhoda the Hutt is still a baby, and
It's
like
just Grogu 2.0. But
yes, and Boba has to protect it because like it's really got the claim on the throne, but like he can like raise Rota to be, you know what I'm saying? Like
Boba Fett is actually just really loyal to Jabba and
yeah,
wants to make
maybe.
sure that his son, finds his place on that dais.
That's not it.
I do not see that being the case.
No, we're just joking. But I would not be shocked if he is in the show or name dropped in the show, because like he just kind of disappeared after that.
Yeah. I would love that if they like gave us the backstory on how he like abdicated the throne as a teenager or something, and that's why he's not an issue and involved in the show or anything like that. But
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But she's always for some reason like the top candidate in my mind right now. It could be anybody. It could be Wilson Fisk. It could be. I'm just kidding. Not Wilson. Kingpin.
That'd be. That would be something right there.
He's basically Jabba the Hutt.
Crossover event. I'm gonna put my money on Kira showing up at the end.
Interesting.
And I think they would have to cast her again, right?
Yeah. Emilia Clarke.
Yeah. I'm like, they're not gonna age Emilia Clarke up.
Maybe. I don't know. They could. Why not?
I guess this isn't even super far out. It's not like this is like the sequel trilogy era or anything.
Not
Assuming
quite
this
yet.
is happening pretty much right after The Mandalorian, so it's like 7 years or so out from the original Tridge.
I don't know. We still need that timeline though, right?
Yeah.
Like we still need that timeline instead of the helmets at the beginning.
Yeah.
Do a timeline. Lose the helmets.
Yeah. Do it, you cowards.
Okay, so
Will, thank you so much for your call. Call back. I think that's going to conclude the voicemail portion of the show.
yes. So
We'll, drop some final predictions. Take some swings here.
yeah, well, I do want to talk about that article real quick where Robert Rodriguez said, like, basically, there's going to be huge surprises in every episode, which is great news for this podcast. That we love that stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
That's good news. Reading that article excited me more than any of the TV spots and trailer, because that man knows how to sell a TV show. That guy knows how to hype it up. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's go. I think... And I actually wrote a weekly roundup of this last week for the Patreon. Think about The Mandalorian, okay? Let's think about the first episode of the first season of The Mandalorian. When we were going into this, the sole reason we were watching this is because this is a Star Wars television show, and we had no knowledge of really what was going to happen in it, except the name of the show was The Mandalorian. That makes the main character Mandalorian. That's all we knew.
And we knew what he looked like, obviously. So,
That's all, right?
Yeah.
And so then, what happened at the end of that episode? Baby Yoda, a.k.a. Grogu, showed up, and it changed the game. Like, what 100%. We thought we were going to get was not what we were getting, and we got something completely, like, we didn't even know we wanted, right?
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. I mean, it was a story that, like, none of us were expecting. No one even... I feel like because Yoda had this, like, seemingly untouchable status, he was the only, one of his species that we focused
Besides
on.
Yaddle.
Yaddle was there, but, he's the only character of that species and that we has any speaking lines or anything. I think
that matters. Basically, is what you're saying.
Look, I'm not trying to say Yaddle doesn't matter. I'm not trying to...
All the Yaddle fans are coming at me now.
Yeah, don't come for me, Yaddles fans.
Yaddleites is what they're called.
Yeah, so I do think like that was crazy, and I hope that stuff like that happens with this show too. I have a feeling it's gonna be just a let's see how many characters we can get from Legends into canon fest. Do you feel that?
I think that's or from animated series as well. Like I'm thinking
Cad
people like
Bane.
Embo.
Yeah.
Embo
Cad
would be
Bane.
incredible. Yeah. Those are bounty hunters. Embo and Cad Bane are bounty hunters. But yeah, also I agree. I think there's plenty of Legends characters that they're going to want to pull in and add to the show, to Star Wars lore, especially the Underworld stuff.
Yeah, Dash Rendar is going to show up.
Oh man. So like
What if somebody in shoulder pads covered in pouches and straps shows up?
I would lose my mind. I'm telling you right now. I will, like, I'm sorry, Toro, but like I might
Toro, that's why you like Toro, is because he's just Dash Rendar.
Yes,
It's
like
the same thing.
I've always said, like from when that episode premiered, they should not have named that guy Toro Calican. That was Dash Rendar. That is Dash Rendar in character. So if they actually brought Dash in, we get to have Dash and Toro both existing together in the same universe. Because Toro, as we all know, is actually still alive.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
No. He's dead.
Or is he? Maybe he's the big bad. Maybe he's the guy at the end.
He's gonna come get revenge on Finnick or whatever.
Yes! Oh, yeah. Yes! Finnick is down for the count because Toro is actually in charge here.
No, Toro, there's nothing Toro could do to Finnick.
He already had. He shot her in the stomach, and Boba Fett saved her.
Yeah, she's fine though.
Yeah, okay. She's got a robo-tummy now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got a little excited at the thought of Dash Rendar and Toro Calican. I agree with you. I actually think Dash Rendar will be in this show as well. I think that's a crazy prediction, but I'm 100% believing it right now.
Yeah. I think we could learn that there's something wrong with Boba with the cloning thing. Like something about him being a clone. Like I think like this is just a crazy thing that I'm saying I think could happen. I think like maybe he either is having to switch bodies or something like that. Like his current body is his aging is accelerating or something. You know, something like that's happening that
maybe the Kaminoans like left something in him to activate at a certain
It's like
point.
Apple. It's like forced obsolescence. You know, they just like for my phone they can just flip a switch and it'll stop working. But yeah, maybe
that's
something
true.
like that. Maybe.
Well, but let's expect the unexpected, right? That's what Robert Rodriguez said, is expect the unexpected in this show. Let's say Talon Card and Mara Jade.
That would be something-
that would get people like, holy crap.
Yeah. Mara Jade has been ever since like Rey was like we were first learning about Rey as a character, you know, even before The Force Awakens came out, everybody was like, this Mara Jade. So I think people are like expecting her to make a return to canon at some point, but I don't know. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
That's too crazy. That's too crazy. That's a step
I don't think
too far.
anything's too crazy, but I don't think it's likely.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely either. Okay. I'm just trying to think through, like, what are some other things? Embo would be really cool. I really like
great.
Embo. He is like my favorite bounty hunter from the Clone Wars. He's an alien with a wolf. alien by his side. Like he has a wolf that walks with him, and he sounds really cool when he talks. He speaks some sort of alien language, and he has a metal hat that he throws, like a Raiden hat from Mortal Kombat. He throws it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. What if Jas Amari from Aftermath showed up?
That'd be cool.
Didn't Boba know her aunt, Sugi?
Yeah, that's Embo worked with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's a really cool character, and I would love for her to be made, or to make it into live action.
That would be cool to bring characters in from the Aftermath stuff. Like they did with Cobb Vanth.
Sinjir would be great. I think
Sinjir's
really, really
the one that I'm
interesting
hoping
character.
for. Yeah. He's cool. Speaking of Cobb Vanth, he could be on the show.
I feel like that's a very large possibility because they've already interacted. If Boba is operating on Tatooine, he's there. Puts him in proximity, and I think that maybe Cobb, like they could kind of be at odds with each other in the sense that Cobb is sort of like the self-proclaimed law.
Right.
And then Boba is now operating a criminal syndicate.
Right. Wearing his armor.
It's interesting.
To Cobb, that's his armor. So he would be like, why are you wearing that armor?
So, I think he came to terms with the fact that he was like, all right.
It's not his. Right, but like, would you not, like, okay, you gave it to Din. But then you see it on a guy who is now taking over the criminal underworld. I'd be like, what the heck?
What if he thinks he's Din?
Oh.
And he's like, Din, what are you doing? Breaking Bad. Something to think about. Yeah, here's the thing, though. It's like, it could go anywhere. This show literally could go anywhere. Another person that I think, like, if we're just talking about who could show up in the show, why not Han Solo? For sure. We have the technology, so to speak.
Or even Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden, what a great way. So what if they did bring Kira back in this show and they brought Alden back as Han?
We're getting Solo 2 in the Book of Boba Fett.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because there is a very large segment of the fan community, myself included, who wants a lot more of that story. And so maybe this could be the continuation.
And, that goes to part of our conversation from the history of Boba Fett 101. We had talked about there is a history between Han Solo and Boba Fett. And maybe we should have made this more clear on the episode, but Han did work for Jabba, and Boba worked for Jabba. So they were co-workers at some point. Right. That doesn't mean that they liked each other or even worked together in that same kind of capacity, but they knew each other.
Yeah. They've interacted. Yeah, it's for sure. I think somebody on Twitter pointed out that like Han seemed to be able to push Jabba around a little bit.
Yeah.
If you dig for that tweet, so we could shout that dude out, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But that like Han seemed to be like a little more like willing to push the boundaries with Jabba. He's like stepping over his tail in that the scene they added back into New Hope. So and then Boba seems pretty much like a grunt. And so maybe there's an adversarial nature to the relationship in that regard.
My mind is still racing about Dash Rendar right now. How sad is that? Is that sad?
Maybe. I don't know what that says about you as a person, Alex.
I think because it's connected to like how I fell in love with Star Wars was at the age of 6. Shadows of the Empire came out at 6 when I was in 1996 when I was 6. And like my brothers for Christmas, they got a Nintendo 64 and they got the game Shadows of the Empire. And you know what I got? I got a Dash Rendar toy and the Outrider for Christmas as well, plus a Millennium Falcon and an X-Wing. And guess what? There was a Star Wars trilogy on TV all day. That was before like the internet, really. So it's like you couldn't, if it was on TV, it was kind of a big deal, even though you had the videos.
Yeah.
Right? It's a good day.
It was a good day.
Dash Rendar was involved in that day to me.
Yeah.
I love you,
In
Dash.
action figure form.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is Throw Me One Cannoli on Twitter.
Oh, you found
Who
it.
said the thing? Yep.
That's good.
So
Shout out to
thank
you.
you for that comment.
I'm just quickly looking to see what else has happened to Rhoda the Hutt, a.k.a. Stinky, a.k.a. Punky Muffin.
Wow.
Zero the Hutt. What if Zero the Hutt shows...
He's been dead.
He is
pretty
dead.
sure. Yeah. So are we ready to give kind of our big final predictions?
I don't know if I actually have one, but I'm eager to hear yours.
All right. So I already went into this one. I think that the first, and I talked about it a little bit on a previous episode somewhere, but it's been lodged into my mind now. I think the first scene of the show, the Tuskens are hunting the Sarlacc, and they bring it up out of the earth because they're going to eat it, and they cut its belly open to gut it and start cleaning it, and Boba slides out.
Nice.
And then so that's what I think, like the context in which they'll do the Sarlacc thing. So I'm imagining probably a set on the volume with like a physical propped type Sarlacc at first, and then the rest of it being volume, and they just put some sand out on the floor or something like that. And for anybody that doesn't, the volume is like the new set that they're shooting a lot of the Star Wars live action stuff on, kind of using a technology to do digital backgrounds, in camera and stuff. So I think that could be how he gets out, like how they find him. Like maybe he's just kind of comatose in there, getting digested, and they can revive him somehow that way. Yeah, that's what I think the first scene of the show will be.
Interesting.
And that's I'm not gonna put any money on that in any world, but that's just if you really put me to it to name what the first scene was, that's what I'd say.
Oh, that's something that we do need to talk about before we end the show is like Robert Rodriguez said, what we have seen from footage so far has been mostly from the first half of the first episode. Now, that doesn't mean everything that we've seen is just from that first half, but the majority of it is, and that's actually a really good sign for us because it's like
that.
That is good marketing, in my opinion, because it's like they have done enough to make me want to watch this without giving anything big away. And it makes me think, I guess this is my final prediction, it makes me think there is something very big to give away at the end of that first episode. Maybe on par with the way the Mandalorian first episode ended, but there is going to be something that's going to just suck us in and be like, okay, I thought I knew what this show was, but now I got to keep watching.
Yeah.
I think, now I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure, but I think there is more to this show than what meets the eye initially, because they're holding a lot of cards back.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that's the case. I'm so ready to be surprised and just be along for the ride, wherever they take it.
Yeah, basically in that article that we keep referencing, he said, I'm surprised they let us do some of the things that we're going to do in the show.
That's a good sign.
That is a good shot. Yeah, that's a really good sign. Yeah. So I can't wait. We are 1 week away. If you're listening to this, we're 1 week away.
It's happening. It's right around the corner. We couldn't be more excited. We can't wait to hear from you. So please, don't let your voicemail not make it onto the next voicemail hotline episode because you didn't call. And if you want to call, that number is 205-259-6675. That's 205-259-6675. So give us a call.
Yeah, and I did want to say, too, before we sign off here for the final time, and the next time you're listening to us is our scene-by-scene breakdown of the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, which is exciting.
Yes.
We have launched a YouTube to better reach everybody, reach new fans, reach people that don't normally maybe know about us or anything. It's also a good way for us to monetize through YouTube. I mean, that is a goal of ours, is to to do that. So if you have not signed up on the YouTube or subscribed on the YouTube, that would go a long way in helping us. And we're close to that goal. We're about 1,000 watch hours away from that. We're hoping that after the Book of Boba Fett, maybe we can make that goal. But it'd be really cool to make that sooner rather than later. But here's the deal. I know a lot of you are just podcast listeners. In my mind, podcast is always going to be number one.
Yeah.
Like the podcast, I want to make sure that we never lose any quality of the podcast, or like we make too many references to the YouTube. The only reason we've talked about YouTube a lot is because we're trying to reach that goal and hopefully get a lot of people over there. But if you're listening on the podcast, we are first and foremost always a podcast. And that's what we're always going to be. But we're also trying to expand out into YouTube too and get people interested who might be in that world a little more. And so if you want to help us out, that would be a huge way you could help us out. You could also help us out by rating and reviewing us both on Apple Podcast. 5-star review over there would help. And then on Spotify, I didn't know you could do that on Spotify. I think that's a newer thing, but you can give us a 5-star review on Spotify. We're also on Audible now, which is really cool. So you can give us 5-star review there. Just, if you would like to, that would be nice. Because we love you guys and we try to make this show for free. Like, we had no ads during this show, and we would like to keep it that way. That's our goal, is to keep it that way, because this show's not free to do.
Not on YouTube. We would love ads on YouTube.
Yeah. Podcasts, no way.
Yeah.
We don't want any ads on the podcast unless we're reading them, like live. That would be the only ads that
next
we
time
do.
Camino Saber Darts wants to throw some money our way, we'll read that ad in a heartbeat. But
ads on YouTube 100%. But be sure to check us out, because we do fun things over there on the YouTube as well. So check us out, and then be ready Wednesday, December 29th. As we do the scene-by-scene breakdown. That episode will come out on Wednesday, so make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you're at. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
That's right. Next time you hear from us, it'll be Book of Boba Fett season. And until then, keep the watch.